Hello, beautiful people. I am not at all having a good day, good week, good month. I have truly been so stressed out for the last 2 weeks that it's truly at the point where I just cry on and off, and I'm just really getting sick of it. And I don't know what else to do other than to just try to grow through it. And the reason I'm making this video is because my vlogs are video vlogs truly for me. I want to look back on in time at where I was, how far I've come, the things that I've accomplished, and things that I've overcome. So I decided that I was going to share this video with you guys because I feel like it's something that could be mutually beneficial. I know that maybe someone out there could relate to what I'm going through, and I feel like there's not a lot of people on social media that, share the bad times or hard times or tough times. It's always, just the really good stuff. So although I am going to try and focus on the positive in this video, I am just going to talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on with me and why I'm so down. So basically, when I was 17 years old, and I'm over here sitting near this little bar setup because Lord Jesus knows I need a drink. And I'm not a real drinker, so I'm not drinking anything fancy. But when I was 17 years old, I was in a car accident with my then boyfriend and another lady. I tapped the back of a lady's car. Didn't cause any real damage to her car. We didn't exchange information. Nonetheless, she went on to, some time after the accident happened, because I think you have up to 2 weeks. So some time after the accident happened, she ended up going to her insurance company and saying that she was injured and that she had to spend time out of work. Long story short, the insurance company awarded her some money for that and then came after me personally for her damages, since we never exchanged insurance information, and we never exchanged, all we exchanged was licenses, I think. She looked at my license, I looked at hers, but I think maybe she wrote down my information or something. I don't really remember. It was so long ago. But we didn't call the police because her car was still drivable, my car was still drivable, there was no visible damage. But after the fact, she went back and said, that she was damaged, and you're allowed 2 weeks, I think, to, come up with doctor's notes, orders, or whatever about whatever you think is going on with you. So my takeaway from that situation is, if you're ever in a car accident, no matter what, call the police, get a police report, and just document as much stuff as you can, make a video, whatever, because the situation here now, almost 10 years ago basically, is freaking havoc on my life and causing me so much stress that I just don't know what to do. So long story short, in the midst of that little situation, here we are almost 10 years later, and this situation has suspended my license countless times, as the law office that represents the insurance company has come after me for money. And now I'm just really in a place where I'm an adult, I have built credit, and this situation is just hurting me because I owe now $20,000 for this fraudulent situation, and I have no choice but to handle it, because if I don't pay, they just suspend my license, So basically where I'm at now is I've been trying to, find different solutions on how to settle this situation. I have been in contact with lawyers. I have been in contact with credit unions for loans and all kinds of different things. So I won't get too much into it because it truly is a lot. But it has just really been a situation that's just really bringing me down, and on top of some other stuff that I've got going on in my life. So anyways, in the midst of this super crazy situation that I've got going on, credit has truly been the foundation of, kind of giving me a peace of mind, knowing that, no matter what, I am going to be okay. It's not like these people, even though they're threatening, to take my car, take my house, whatever, they really can't, because I really do have good credit, and, I'm in a position where I can get a loan to solve this mess. But there's some other factors that are keeping me from doing so, just because I want to be mindful of continuing to keep good credit. Anyways, so aside from this craziness that I've got going on, I'm also getting ready to go on vacation next weekend, which is so needed. Lord knows, so needed. And not too long ago, a few weeks ago, I went to Miami. And if you watched that video, you saw that, you know, I ended up in a crazy situation where I ended up being in a position where at one point in time I had to put like $600 on my card. Had I not had credit or a credit card, that would have really just tied up my cash, you know what I mean? Or, you know, had me in a situation that I didn't really want to be in financially. So credit to me is so important, and it's such a great thing to be able to lean on if you don't, you know, have the support of parents to just run to them and call them up and just get the money from them or whatever. Credit is a great thing. And it's also a great thing to start working on early on, so that when you get to the point where you really need it, you have it. So what I mean by that is when you're ready to buy a house, when you're ready to buy a new car, when you want to plan a wedding, or whatever the case may be for you. It's just a really, really, really good thing to have. So I'm going to try and give you guys like a little bit of rundown, some basic information about credit, just in case you don't know anything about it, or you know something about it but you haven't really paid much attention to it. So basically with credit, the goal with the credit game is to only use 30% of what you are allowed. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, you only want to use up to $300 on that credit card, and that's what will give you the most credit points, or, you know, help you increase your score. So basically, like, it's this whole credit thing is actually kind of crazy. So for example, like, if I have a $1,000 card and I've used $300 on it, it's almost smarter to open up another card than to max out that card, because opening up another card will help you, because what ends up happening is you're using $300 of your $1,000, and say you open up another card and use another $300 of that $1,000 versus $600 of your $1,000, you are now only using $600 of $2,000, and in this whole credit game, it just really helps your credit score. But another thing that hurts you is when you open up too many accounts within a year. So you only want to do like, stay within like no more than 2 or 3 within a year. You also want to be mindful of only use what you can afford. So obviously don't take out or open up a $4,000 credit card and you don't make enough to pay back $4,000 in a reasonable amount of time, and then only pay like the minimum balance. So only use the minimum balance when you're in like in a dire need. Like if you really just are in a position where you can't afford to pay a significant amount towards the credit card, you know, obviously pay the minimum balance, but don't pay the minimum balance for 1 year, 2 years, whatever, because you end up dragging on debt that is unnecessary. So I only use credit cards in place of money that I actually have, or money that I know that I'm going to have within a reasonable amount of time. Make on-time payments always. I always pay mine like a few days early, so I'm never late. And establish a history. So basically, for example, my very first card was one that I got in college, which was only $500 was the limit on it, and I've now established credit, or have had credit in my name for like 7 or 8 years. So even though I've accumulated other credit cards over time, after you pay down stuff and you want to close a credit card, don't ever close the very first one you ever had, because once you close that kind of takes away from your long history. So that's another thing to be mindful of. And then even, sometimes when you get in situations where you're only approved for a small amount, let's say on a credit card, over time, if you change jobs, you start making more money, your credit gets better, you can always go to them for an increase. So on my very first card, which was a Discover student card, I have increased the balance on that like 4 times. So over time, you could just ask for an increase and they'll do that too. If you're trying to build credit, I would definitely advise you to stay away from store cards, because they're the worst. They have the highest interest rate like possible. And they usually give you a super small balance. So they'll give you like a $500 like limit, and the interest rate will be like 20 something percent. And basically the 20% off that they give you for the opening up the card, or the 15% they give you off for opening up the card, you end up paying that back like 3 or 5 times with, you know, like store cards. So, but I would suggest a store card if you don't have such good credit but you're trying to rebuild it. I would suggest at least maybe getting one, using it and paying it off before it has a chance to accrue interest. But basically the way that I started out, the way that I like built credit, was I applied for a student card when I was first in college, which was similar to a retail store card, which only was like a $500 balance, but the interest rate was a little bit lower. So I started off with that, and over time I was able to step it up and get, you know, bigger cards that would give me ultimately like $12,000, $15,000 spending limit. But if you are in the market for a credit card, I definitely suggest you getting one that starts off with like 0 interest rate for like 2 years, 1 year, or however long. Those are the absolute best, because it's basically same as cash. You know, whatever you use on it is exactly what you'll pay. There's no interest on it. I do that sometimes, like once every 2 years I'll get a card like that that's no interest for 2 years, and it just really continues to help my credit. So the credit score that I'm at right now is actually dropping. I'm at like 718, but the highest I've been at was 745. And I remember when my very first credit card, my credit score was like 550, and it's just kind of been like a little game for me. I've been so excited. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try and get it up. And usually credit cards, they also have like apps that will tell you your credit score, so you can monitor that. Also, there is free annual credit report.com, and I might be saying that wrong, so I'm going to Google it and make sure I tell you guys the right site, and I will put it right here. But there is only one site in the world that allows you a free credit report that does not hurt your credit. And you are allowed to check that once a year. So it doesn't tell you the actual score, but it tells you the items on your credit. So it gives you the opportunity to see what lenders will see, what other accounts that you have out there that you may not even know of. Because for me, the first time I checked it, I was so surprised to see that my student loans were showing up as like 10 separate accounts. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, wait, what? So like in total, like on my credit report, I had like 20 credit accounts, and I'm like, I don't have 20 cards, but credit comes in other forms, like your car note, or, you know, different things like that, your cable bills, things like that. And also another great thing about having good credit is it just saves you so much money when you are able to prove on paper that you are a good borrower, because when you go to move into a new place and you have to set up your electric, you don't have to put down security deposits for a lot of stuff, because you've already proven that you have good payment history. Also, another great thing about credit is that things stay on your credit report for 7 years. So after 7 years, if you have something negative on there that's hurting your credit, it will drop off. Also, different things on your credit report that might show as negative, you can challenge those. Like one time I had this negative account from Comcast, which is like the worst cable company ever. I had a negative account from Comcast, basically saying that after I turned in the boxes, they were still charging me or something, and there was like negative $200 on my account or something, and that was keeping my credit score kind of low. So I went through this thing that I'm telling you, the site that I'm telling you guys about. I challenged it, they took it off, and my credit jumped like 30 points, I think. So that's what took me from like the 500s to the 600s. So you definitely can do that. Also, Credit Karma, not legit. It gives you like a phony score that is not true. And another thing about credit that's complicated as well is that there are 3 major bureaus that people or that companies report to. So you might have a super high score on one at one of the bureaus but not the other 2, because for example, let's say your car note or whatever is only reported to one company. So you could check your website on Credit Karma and it says you have 700, but the other two bureaus say that you have 600 or like 615 or something. That's a big thing too. So it's important to check the free annual thing that I'm telling you guys about so that you can see what is being reported across all three bureaus. Yeah, credit is so complicated, but once you get the hang of it, like, it's super helpful. Like, I am just so excited to be in a good place, like, credit-wise, because I know, like, if I ever just one day want to start a business, I could get a business loan. When I'm ready to buy a house, I know I'm going to get a good mortgage. When I'm ready to buy a new car, I know I'm going to get the lowest interest rate. My note is going to be, like, this big. Yeah, it's just such a great thing to have. It makes me feel so comfortable about all adult decisions and stuff like that, because I just know, like, I'm good, you know? So it's definitely something that I really encourage if you are interested. I mean, you might not care less than if you don't, good for you, but I think it's a good thing to have. I use credit a lot when I'm traveling. You know, when you check into a hotel, you have to have a credit card for incidentals, so that's always been helpful. And a few years ago when I went to Europe, that's how I went on my trip. I opened up a credit card that had no interest for 2 years. I put the full, like, $4,000 on there that it costs. Yeah, it was like 4,000. The full, like, $4,000 on there that it costs to go to London, Paris, Barcelona, Berlin, all these different places. I put it on my credit card and I set up a payment arrangement with myself that every time I got paid, I would continue to pay towards the credit card up until my trip. So by the time I went on my trip, everything was paid for. So that was super helpful. So, you know, even if you never find yourself in tough situations, you just think that you're just above hard times, it's really nice for that too, if you just want to travel and stuff. So anyways, that's about credit, the basic stuff that I'll share with you guys. If you end up wanting to know more, I'll go into it. But anyways, this situation that I'm going through, I know, or I at least hope, that it will get better. And I can't wait to, like I said, watch this video back and just see, like, how drastic my life has changed and how this situation unfolds, how God provides and everything. Because it is really just taking a toll on me right now, but I know that it is going to be okay, and that it is a minor setback for a major comeback. And I just need to give myself credit for doing the best that I can and wanting more out of life and just trying to get through this and all this other adult stuff that is being thrown at me while being a 20-something that I just was not prepared for. Now I'm over here trying to figure out how I'm gonna come up with thousands of dollars to, you know, handle situations, and it's just crazy. Like, being an adult is so tough. Like, was not prepared for this. I was not prepared for this. Like, I was not prepared for this. I just wanted to share with you guys the little tips or information that I have about credit, sharing with you how it has been a huge help in my life and important in my life. And just in case you haven't started working on your credit yet, you definitely should get started on it. And also to remind you that if you are going through tough times like me, to give yourself some credit, because you're doing the best that you can. And if you're not doing the best you can, do the best you can, and then give yourself some credit for doing the best that you can, and know that this too shall pass. So I already feel so much better by just sharing this with you guys. Like, I get so much joy from sharing information with other people and letting it be a benefit to their life. And even though in this moment recording it hasn't directly impacted anyone, it has impacted me. And in the midst of me attempting to share my story and give advice to anyone who could possibly be watching, I've kind of helped myself a little bit too. And, you know, like, sometimes after I make videos, I like to hold myself accountable for what I say to you guys. So I know throughout the week I'm going to constantly in my mind be telling myself, girl, give yourself some credit, give yourself some credit. Like, it's going to be okay. You're doing the best that you can. And that usually happens anytime I share a message with you guys. I go throughout my weeks or my days, and I remind myself of the same stuff that I shared, because how dare I share something with you and try and tell you to do something and I'm not doing it myself. So yeah, this has been really helpful for me, and I hope that this has been helpful information for anybody that could possibly be watching it. Yeah. So if you learned anything from this video, or you feel me with these adult struggles, please definitely like this video and subscribe, because there is definitely more where this comes from. You know, as I grow through things, I'm going to share it with you guys, and hopes that we all learn something. We take something away from it and we move on. But nonetheless, as I look forward to the future, I hope that you guys do the same. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and repost. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date with all the latest. And yeah. Bye, y'all.